A wonderful good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Tuesday. It is morning in the United States. It's about 7 o'clock in Stuttgart area, as in Frankfurt, and it's roundabout, I guess, lovely lunchtime in Chicago, isn't it, Marshall?
Yes, it is. And today, lunch is tea.
Wow, this
Lucky
is one
you.
of the fascinating diets which one can go for, such as instead of eating unhealthy stuff, drinking some nice, lovely, warm stuff. Our
That's a,
British friends do exercise a lot of this and mostly with success if they are not in the in a political role. I don't want to get hit, Thomas. Sebastian, fantastic that you could join us, that you made it, and we are thrilled, trust me, because I do not know what RPA is too much that I could go into in-depth talk. I'm learning today. I have a friend who is with Blue Prism and told me, now I'm going into German, es ist heißer Scheiß. It's really,
Well, that
yeah.
can be literally translated.
I love it when he says things I understand.
And I was fascinated that we have the opportunity to not only learn but to get some use cases known, and that after all, it is fascinating to see that a company which is in Frankfurt residing is sounding very French. And before I make the first mistake in telling the company's name, Sebastian, please, the floor is yours. Introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your background, how you came to your now employer, how it's called, and what RPA is so fascinating about.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ralph. Thank you very much for having me. It's really a great pleasure and a warm welcome, a warm, happy evening from Stuttgart. Yeah, it's already 7 o'clock. I was already mentioned it's normally beer time in Germany. So today I need to wait some more time, forget the first beer. But yeah, I don't know. Should I start with the name first? I mean, to not make it too complicated, maybe. It's not French. It's Sogedes. That's how we say it in German. But we also heard Sogedes, Sogedes, so almost every kind of possibility. But it's Sogedes. Yeah, it's Sogedes. Quite simple. For Germans, quite simple. For you, Marshall, I don't know if it's simple as well.
Sogedes. I think I can manage.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So my name is Sebastian Eggert. I am 42 years old already, which is sometimes surprising. Before I started in the field of RPA, I was working for several companies in the fashion and lifestyle and sports business. So
It's quite a change.
kind of something different. It's quite a change, which was at some point I would say getting a bit bored about that. So
Okay.
it was quite clear that I need to change myself a bit, and I was always focusing on new stuff, digital transformation. So the step going into the field of RPA was not that far as it sounds right now. And since 5 years, I'm now working. I'm now working in the business of RPA with Sogedes. So we started 5-6 years ago with one dedicated solution, and we now grew up having 3 different RPA solutions in our portfolio, which we are working with, which is SAP, which is UiPath, which is the guys from Blue Prism you already mentioned. So I would say we got quite some experience over the last 5-6 years working with several industries, seeing some interesting, some less interesting cases. So yeah, I hope that it's going to be an interesting talk about possibilities, right use cases, maybe start with some basics, but also hoping that after that some of our audience will be ready to do the first step within this hot shit topic you already mentioned. Let's see how this goes.
Well, let's start
That's a
with
cool one.
basics. What is so similar about fashion and RPA?
This is really a long jump. This is a long jump from fashion. And sport.
Well, you said it's not so long.
So have you ever seen models walk down the runway?
Exactly.
Robots.
At some point, you get bored about that, right? It's always the same, right? And you think, okay, how can you make this even better and optimizing that process? No, I was really focusing on all the topics around digital transformation. So we built online shops at that time. We were thinking about how can we make processes lean and fast and good, and then the jump was like not that far as it sounds right now. But yeah, it's right now, and since 5 years, it's the thing I'm doing, and I'm very happy doing this still.
Means you have not been a fashion designer.
No, not really. I'm not the creative guy, to be honest. I'm the business guy. You know, if you don't have talents, you start doing business, then that's my role still.
Okay.
So, for what companies were you working when you were in the fashion area? Because you are living in the Ländle, and there are especially for men, some nice, expensive tailors which are producing there and do their Italian-like design, give themselves not only bossy names, but can be called with Italian slang Sarini, yeah. And they do have a very famous outlet. When I had my work for Bull, that was a mandatory visit. If you had more than 2 days teaming up in Stuttgart office, you had to go for Metzingen to have and let them have some fun. Yeah.
No, it was not that brand you have in mind. It was a small brand based in close to Stuttgart. It was another brand based in Frankfurt later on, and then I was working for a big retailer in Mannheim in the sports business, so the biggest retailer. To be honest,
The big box one there with the small stores and in the carry. That one we won't mention them. But it's quite nice shopping there.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, but basically, so now Ralph said he wants to learn something today. Let's start with what the heck is it?
What the heck is it?
Yeah.
Should we start basic? Yeah? We should start basic maybe.
Starting.
Told.
Crawl, walk, run, right?
Don't make it too complicated.
Yeah, we are old, so we are slow.
No, it's not because of you. It's not because of you. It's what my colleagues always told me or tell me. Don't make it too complicated in the beginning. Don't stress people too much. No, at the end it's quite simple. At the end, it's really quite simple. What we are doing is we are trying, or we simulate human behavior in front of a computer. This is really the basic entry, maybe, and everything what human workers can do using their mouse or their keyboard. This is what we can do in an automated way using RPA software or tools to do that. This is really the simple and really basic introduction, I would say, into the field of RPA. So that can be the typical things like copy and pasting data from one solution to the other in case there is no API in place. And you have this situation quite often, especially in banking sector or insurance sector, that you have several software tools which people are using, and you have the same data sets, or you need to have the same data sets in both applications. And you can do this manually by copy and pasting the data, but for sure you can use a so-called RPA robot to let them do the work even faster, even more compliant, and without any mistakes, because it's quite a simple task for a bot. This is what really like a basic introduction into RPA. At the end, it's maybe a bit more difficult, but this is what we are doing.
It raises it's a simple question, but it might be a sidetrack. Why call it? It's strange that you call it robotic process automation, because when most people think of something robotic, they think of an external physical machine, like the automation that you would find on an assembly line. This is process automation.
Exactly.
What is robotic about it? Why does it have that name? Did they just need a third letter to make it a 3-letter acronym?
Could be a possibility, yes, for sure. No, it's true. This is what we sometimes really face, that people think that we're going to deliver a physical bot instead of a software bot. And as the bot is just, maybe that's the reason. Honestly, I don't know what the real reason for that robotic name in the robotic process automation naming is, but I think it's really because we are just following a script who is automatically doing the process step by step. And maybe that's why that is maybe really close to the robotic you have in the physical way. Maybe that's why the R is in the RPA. But honestly, a good question. I need to Google this. I have no clue. This is just my feeling.
I mean, I can imagine some reasons why it would be called that, but I also don't want to sidetrack this conversation. So I will keep my imagination to myself and let you continue.
Maybe we can come back to your imaginations a little later.
Yeah.
Where does it come from? Where does it come from?
You mean the RPA?
No, not the R, but
not the R.
The technology.
Technology, yeah. At the end, it all starts. I mean, in the very first beginning, it started with some kind of screen scraping, because this is kind of technology we are still using. We are combining that not just with screen scraping technology, but also with APIs. In case we can use them, we also use API. So at the end, it's a combination of both. Using screen scraping technologies like you maybe did for websites and stuff like that. If you want to get the data or all the stuff which you can find on websites, it was possible to use screen scraping to get the data and use it afterwards for whatever need you have. And then over time, it developed more and more. And as I said, we also use API in case we can use them, especially, for example, for all the Microsoft Office tools. There's a lot of APIs we can use for Outlook, for Excel, and all the stuff. But in case you cannot, we still use the screen scraping technologies and use more or less the user interface, which a normal human worker is using as well, to get the data, to use the buttons and the fields, whatever is needed to automate the process or the workflow at the end. So it's a combination of both, as I said, API and screen scraping. But this is where it comes from. And then if you look to the different providers, there's different heritages. I don't know if this is the right English word for that, but some also use that for testing software. So like in this testing environment, to do stress testing for software, to simulate a human user and to check if the software they are developing at that time or that they are working on is able to handle the requests of a certain amount of users. And stress test, like exactly. This is the word, stress test. And some we try to use this technology to support human workers with their daily work. And this is still like maybe the two differences we still see when we're talking about RPA. We have two, let's say, major possibilities of using RPA. The one is as an attended mode, which means it's more or less like a digital assistant for someone sitting in front of a computer doing a part of the process automatically. And then we have this so-called unattended bots, which is a more or less lone-standing bot, which is working on its own somewhere on a server base and doing the process on its own end-to-end. And users are using the results or the outcome for their daily work. So this is the two main streams we see in RPA.
So the digital worker concept would be doing large batches of process all at once, where the assistant would be, how shall I put it, doing part of the process that would then be approved by the worker themselves.
Exactly.
Okay.
You already mentioned a good topic, because for the same, let's say, meaning, you find different words. You named it a digital assistant, which is at the end nothing else than an attended bot, or digital worker, which is at the end the same like an unattended bot. So you see, there's different words for the same meaning. Some are saying RDA, like robotic desktop automation, which is then again the same like digital assistant. And use the word for the short form of RPA for the same like the unattended one. Exactly. And coming back to the attended case, because you had some difficulties to think about it or to describe it, it's more or less like a human machine tango, because for some processes, like we name it, for some processes you still need the human being for doing the decisions, because this must be clear here. An RPA bot itself, it's a stupid workflow at the end.
Mm-hmm.
It has definitely some difficulties, a lot of difficulties when you see exceptions, because if a process is not following the foreseen process workflow, an RPA bot itself is struggling. So for sure you can think about exception handling, if this makes sense, or you can just put it aside and let a human worker do this special case and jump to the next case and do that one. So that's simply good to know that it's just a workflow which the bot is following at the end. And in that case, that was the beginning of my explanation. If you think about an attended bot where a human being is able to do decisions, because you can decide what should be done next, because a human being is intelligent, hopefully it's intelligent. Some more, some less, it depends, for sure. But it's definitely more competent than an RPA bot is. So that's why we name it attended or human machine tango.
Which sort of brings us to a derivative of RPA. Recently one hears the 4-letter abbreviation IRPA, which is intelligent RPA. What is that then?
Yeah, exactly. This I wouldn't say this is the next hot shit, but
okay, well, it's even hotter.
Really cool.
What this is actually doing is it just brings additional features to the world of RPA, and it brings the feature of decision making. Intelligence means artificial intelligence. Because as I said, an RPA bot on its own is not able to do decisions. But what we do, we combine different technologies to so-called intelligent RPA, or there's also the name of hyper automation. Another buzzword into it's a bit hyper like this.
Hyper, genau.
Hyper. Exactly, and it's a combination of intelligent solutions or technologies in combination with RPA. This can be like OCR, for example, optical character recognition. Yeah. It can be like we use in chatbots, can be natural language understanding or natural language processing, which understands the intent of, for example, emails, and can then, mention companies, not just because of Corona, but they're receiving a lot of emails. And they have the problem that someone needs to check the email to understand what's the email about, to then send this email to the right inbox for the right team, for, let's say, for sales or for marketing or for whatever department is responsible. And what we did, or what we still do, is if we know that this is a case like this is a case for the sales department, and we have a dedicated process for that, we can use RPA to do this process. But the first step, like sorting the emails and bringing them to the right inbox, this is something where the human worker still was involved. And by using NLU, Ralf?
Just that I would like to raise my hand, and I have a question in mind in that process.
In this process, exactly what we do with it, by adding the intelligence to the process is we use NLU and NLP basically to understand the intent of an email, and then do the sorting of the email to the dedicated inbox automatically. So you see, what's then possible is we can do the process fully automated end to end, more or less.
Okay.
For sure, there are some cases where this is not possible. We don't have just one intent. This makes life a bit more complicated, but yeah, we're on its way.
So you can do in the so-called Dunkelverarbeitung a lot of dirty work, which nobody is seeing, and you are organizing in the background, which is a bit more nicely like instead of Dunkelverarbeitung. But as I learned that word from a podcast in a Frankfurt radio station, HR1 on KI, on artificial intelligence and how it is used in banks, it's very common that they use the OCR, which you mentioned, to sort these incoming or these masses of formerly paper written sheets and sort it and organize it, read it, and get it into the data system.
Exactly.
And I think that is quite a responsible thing, such as if the machine is not able to read properly my crackling writing, or what is your logic then doing if it's not able to read the paper which is coming through the machines?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, analyzing handwritten letters or whatever kind of mail companies receiving is still a really complicated topic, first of all.
Okay.
Because there is companies in the business who are focusing on that as well. But yeah, this is really, it's hard to do, to be honest. I wouldn't really implement a process in a big company or in a bank right now based on these handwritten topics. But if you, for example, see emails, which is in a digital format, you can easily use OCR to, first of all, extract the data, because OCR is at the end just extracting and writing it in another file. And then you use this NLU technology to try to understand the intent. But for sure, in case, as you mentioned, the system is not sure enough, at the end it's about the percentage you need to achieve to be safe here, that this is the intent of, I don't know, an order or for whatever. If the system is not sure enough, we just put it aside. That's what I meant before. We have this kind of exceptions, and we just go to the next step. But for companies, if we are able to, for example, define 50% of all these letters, of all these emails companies are receiving, I mean, it's a big step, because this is saving so much resources, and at the end time for the company, that this is already a win. And yeah, we shouldn't forget we are just at the beginning, and the system is getting better and better over time. You can also use this manual work later on to train the machine learning algorithm. I'm not a tech guy to explain how this at the end really works, but this is possible. And over time, you're coming from 50% maybe to 60, maybe to 70%. And this is helping companies quite a lot, and this is for sure possible. Yeah.
I was wondering, as we have started with your personal way into Sogedes, I'm quite not aware who founded your company. How large are you? Are you rich and famous, or are you on the way to become rich and famous?
And if you are rich and famous, do you need an assistant? A robot?
A digital one?
I have digits.
Yeah, you did it. That's good. That's good.
Seriously, a bit of background about Sogedes.
Yeah, sure. I was not focusing on that. Sorry for that. Yeah,
No, my fault. I distracted you.
No. We were really jumping.
Suddenly we dove into the topic.
How dare we enjoy this conversation?
Yes. No, Sogedes was founded like around 20 years ago. The heritage is in the field of experience management software. So everything started with experience management or call center, service center software.
Yeah.
This is still the core. This is what Sogedes is still doing, offering cloud contact center services, offering contact center for Microsoft Teams, for example, offering contact centers for large accounts, big accounts as well. where we have a lot of customizing to do. And over time, the two founders, Martin Wild and Bernd Walz, were always focusing on new technologies around that topic of call center business or service center business. We would now say experience management or customer service management. And as I said, 6-7 years ago, there was the opportunity to start with at that time, software called Contextor, which was the biggest player in the French market for RPA. So they decided to start with that brand, which was then in 2018 bought by SAP for good reason, and it's now an SAP software. But there's not just RPA. There's also we are also working with chatbots. Voice bot is a really hot topic at the moment, where really a lot of people are looking after. We have this so-called workforce management. We have solutions for quality management within the software, within the contact center business, a software solution which is analyzing in real time or based on historical data all the calls. And so there's quite a lot of software built around that core of contact center business, and that's what we're focusing on. And we found out that especially the RPA part is not just interesting for contact centers or service center business. In the beginning, it wasn't the case at all. So we didn't have a chance in the contact center business at all, because they all thought that we're gonna kick out all the agents, which is definitely not happening. So it's quite interesting. But now they really understand the benefits, and it's also interesting for them as well, for sure, because it has the good potential to support people in their daily work and making processes faster and compliant and within a better quality. So all in all, we are a mid-sized company, having around 35 people working for us. We're also working with external developers, for sure, because we sometimes need more, we sometimes need less, but the core of the team is 35. We are doing consultancy services if needed. We are selling licenses for the software, and we are also doing the development, or also running the whole platform for customers if they want us to do that as well. And it's the same for all software solutions we are having in the portfolio.
You said you had systems already running. So one was your core, and then came two babies.
Yeah, two babies. It's getting more and more babies over time. But they are related to the core business. I mean, this is really important to understand, because there's always a connection, and there's always to the rest. It's not just one standing that the founders thought, okay, this could be interesting, and there is no connection to one of the others. This is really important to understand, and this maybe makes us somehow special also in the field of RPA, because I mean, an RPA project, I mean, talking about projects, it's not just technology, right? I mean, there's for sure a lot of vendors, there's a lot of technologies in place, but it's always a combination of technology, of a business understanding. You need to understand processes. You need to understand the return on investment, which is really important. It's the business part. It differs us also to the rest, and this is what applies to the rest of the vendors as well.
A bit back to RPA itself. So what makes it hot shit? Because let me throw a thesis into the room, the virtual room. The thesis being that we have APIs, and we have an increasing amount of APIs that are there to connect systems. Means at the end of the day, this is a dying technology. Okay, that's probably a mean thesis, but you want to get it running, right?
It's a mean thesis, yes, for sure. I mean, if you have the opportunity of an API, or you can integrate that service into your existing ERP software, go for it. Do it. For sure, 100%, do it. But now, welcome to reality.
Well, it's the current reality. That's why I want to get to. So, of course, I'm yanking your chain.
No, you don't. But in reality, this is not happening for several reasons. I mean, first of all, you don't always have the chance to use APIs. then sometimes you're looking after a solution which can be implemented quite fast, with a low cost effect, or with a high cost effectiveness. And if you look at the IT departments, not just in bigger, but also in smaller and mid-sized companies, they're full of work. So what we are actually doing, we are solving a problem for them. And then we see, I mean, also in the projects we are still doing, we see that at some point, the process is going to get to the next step, or going to the next step using APIs or getting integrated. But it sometimes is happening after 2, 3, 4 years, and you cannot wait. I mean, to be honest, you cannot wait for this 2, 3 years until the IT department finds some time opening your ticket and do what you asked for. And at that time, you for sure. Sorry.
That's crazy to wait 2 to 4 years. Hallelujah. Yeah.
That's really crazy. So there is for sure, a good possibility and a good reason for using RPA. And this is the status quo, for sure, the status quo. But for sure, we're going to talk later on also about the next steps. And we also talked about that. I mean, adding intelligence to the system brings us very fast to another level. And this is what's happening at the moment.
In how far do you think that adding an RPA bot into an existing landscape that doesn't have APIs, fine, it's there, and this is the reality. But what we are doing with that is we are probably entrenching a bad process. So instead of doing what we actually want to do, is we want to improve get more efficiency, find some more efficiency by doing things different. So what we are doing here is we are fixing it right now by, again, a bad thesis, by putting a Band-Aid on it in order to keep it alive instead of improving it right away. So how far do you see a risk there?
I mean, for sure.
Don't want to put you onto the hot seat. That will be another show.
No. This is okay. I mean, it's really a good question. And for sure, I mean, in German we would say, ein Scheißprozess bleibt auch ein digitaler Scheißprozess.
Right.
This is 100% correct. This is 100% correct.
A fool with a tool remains a fool. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. This is what also happened. But on the other hand, people are also rethinking processes. So it's for sure it's happening. I mean, to be honest, it's happening. And it's helping in a way that it's solving your problem, but the problem is still there. You just have the problem in a digital way. So this is what's going to happen. But on the other hand, it also helps because we are able to help companies to stay alive, right? Because at some points they are so full that it's maybe it's a really good discussion. Maybe better to keep it as it is, to keep it running instead of dying, right? So, but yeah, it's not a perfect situation. That's 100% for sure. If this is the case, yes.
Just imagine we do have the German train system operating, the Deutsche Bahn. They have been using Neanderthal hardware, combine it with stone pages as programs. This was Siemens Scientific Systems. We and the competition said Siemens Simple Systems, because it was not properly running. But they just let the last dinosaurs of these machines die. So I guess they were desperately in need of such smart tools to keep them surviving with their old systems and do a proper transformation. And I see honestly that a lot of insurance companies, like there is one company we know from Frankfurt, which is in the banking and insurance area, and they have an interesting link to the House of Finance in Frankfurt, to one of the professors. And they said it is quite astonishing to see that, especially in insurance organizations, it's not only some systems, but many systems which are separately running on their islands. And I was making a joke when 1999, which is some time now, I was for an Austrian CRM vendor, and there was a large Swiss named insurance company which were using telefax machines to send over the contracts and every data. And in another department, they took out the messages out of their telefax machine and started keying in. And the interesting aspect is what they sent via telefax was a printout of a computer, such as they did fast printouts with these needle printers, and then they sent it via fax. It's a certain remembrance to Corona, yeah, that we are still operating with fax machines, but that should not be the standard. So in real life, you have, many customers which are still in the need of adding some manual stuff instead of having it automated. And are these banks, insurance companies? What type of companies?
Yeah, I mean, banking and insurance companies are for sure a good example for RPA. I mean, we also work with a lot of, or some of them, since years, and we exactly see what we're talking about. They over time they acquired more and more companies, and all run on several systems, and no one really is able or willing to cut and stop one of the systems. So what are you doing is, okay, I want to have the same data in application A and application B because it is how it is. Huh?
Yeah.
So there's not really a reason, and it doesn't make sense. If you would start on a whiteboard, you would for sure do it in a different way, but in reality, it's not the case, right? And there's another good point, or like a good reason why, especially in banking and insurance, RPA is really like a helping technology, because they have a lot of cases really in a standard. Like there's a lot of high standardization of cases, and these cases are happening quite often. So this makes it quite easy also for a stupid RPA bot to just follow this stupid workflow or the same workflow for like thousands of times, right? And then you already reach return on investment quite fast, and then there's no discussion. If you're able to develop a bot quite fast on a really low cost base, and after 1 or 2, 3 months you already reach return on investment, you don't care if you stop the bot after 3-4 years, right? Because at that time you already gain a lot of money back, right, from it. That's why, yeah, I know it's maybe sometimes not the perfect way, but it is the reality. Yeah.
What other industries are you in?
So for sure, we are like for production service.
Okay.
For companies who are producing, or also like having a big customer service. Going back to customer service.
Yeah.
Imagine you get a lot of requests. Is my product available? And if you're a larger company, you for sure have a lot of warehouses to talk about use cases, and it's somehow some work for agents or for consultants to check all the warehouses, if the product is there, or when is the next delivery coming, etc. And this is a good example use case of RPA as well, because a bot can easily check several warehouses, can check the next deliveries in seconds.
Wow.
Bring it on the screen of an agent or a human being who is on the phone with the customer asking for it. This helps quite a lot. I mean, this manual process takes normally a lot of time, like 2-3 minutes. While the customer is still on the phone, and if you have a bot who can do the job within like 10 seconds and finally give an output in a good way, like in a graph or in an overview, this helps a lot. And if you go further down the road, you could also use this information and send an email based on that, right? You click the next button as an attendant bot, and click a button, send an email, and the bot is taking all these informations using an email template and sending the email automatically. Job done.
That's cool.
So, quite a simple, easy task, which is time consuming for human beings, but can help a lot.
It's very beneficial. If I recall, I had a potential candidate who asked for some advice how he could get less than 4 screens for his call center agents on one screen, because that's not a joke. It's reality, such as they work in a warehouse system, they work in the order system, then in the delivery system, and then in something which could be one day a CRM. So they have 4 screens. These guys are getting crazy. And
Yeah, exactly.
just to give answers, they sometimes have to key in a new, or they double do the order entry and create a double entry in the database just to keep on track and on time and to deliver the service, and are committed that the people are not waiting 10 minutes to get some answers because the systems are so incurrent and not correct and just. Yeah.
I mean, and this needs to be done while the customer is on the phone. And now we're just talking
Yeah.
about a friendly customer. Yeah? It can also happen that you get a call, customer asking why he's not getting delivered, and because he has some open invoices which were not paid, and you need to find out in the system, in 3 or 4 different systems, why and what happened. And if you can automate this process by using RPA, this is really, really a beneficial task,
Absolutely.
which helps the user right away. And it's not rocket science to do it at the end, but it's really saving a lot of time, and the agent or the human worker can focus on the talk and maybe bring the customer down again. So this can be really beneficial.
You support better customer experience in a very empathic and compassionate, to use that word, way, and to drive things forward. Because I believe that in the moment it's very important that if you talk to people, that you can give honest, just, and correct answers fast, and that you give them a very good feeling in these crazy times, and that you are getting their job done in a way that you are not complaining about your silly system, but you can simply say, don't worry, the gift for your child will be there tomorrow morning. I see it's on the DHL. I can send you a tracking number in a minute. And then you have an overwhelming impression. Yeah. Happy mom, happy dad, happy grandma. No?
And a good thing you mentioned, getting or being able to deliver a better customer service. I mean, when we are talking about RPA, we always think about cost savings, and we are thinking about the process faster. This is all happening for sure.
Yeah.
We can also be coming back to the example you already mentioned. If you have like 3-4 screens,
Yeah.
at the end, for this special case, you just need some of the information from screen A, B, C, and D. What you can also do by using RPA, you can create some kind of a unified desktop specialized for this request you're going to get the most, and then you can show all the necessary information from 3, 4, 5 applications in just one screen, which makes the life of an agent, of a human being, of a human worker for sure, much more simple and much more effective and simple, right? So this is maybe another way of using RPA software as a so-called bridge technology, if you want so, Thomas. But yeah, for sure, this helps a lot, right? Because this is making life
no doubt about it being helpful. No doubt about that.
No,
but we came from the word. Well, Marshall already put it into the side chat. This will be known as the hot shit episode, right? So what the question that is behind my question actually is, what makes it hot shit? And what keeps it hot? Or makes it even hotter? Makes it even hotter?
What makes it?
I mean, it is a thing, because it's there. It is a thing in the market. Yeah. Independent of whether it may or may not be a bridge technology. I might be the only person on this planet using that word or that 2 words in combination with RPA. Yeah? So what do you think keeps it hot or makes it even hotter?
I mean, looking on the possibilities we're going to get using artificial intelligence, machine learning will keep it hot for sure. Because what you will be able is you will really be able to put the decision part into the game as well. At the moment, we are just talking about simple tasks. Really, it's really helping companies, as if you want to keep their shit processes alive. But this will change over time. This will definitely change over time. If you think about process mining technologies, which are coming to the game, maybe this is not the first start when you are not starting with the process mining process, because you will find a lot of low-hanging fruits in your company which are really easy to find a solution for by using just RPA without any AI service. I mean, if you don't find them, you didn't look good enough in the corners where you can find them. But adding all these technologies to the game, this will really be the next step. And this is not far from now. This is not dreaming or like being too creative to think about that. And this will keep it alive for sure, because this will really expand the use cases. We already see a lot of possible use cases, as we were talking about. There's so many different use cases you can use RPA already for. But in addition, with all these new coming technologies and capabilities we see, I wouldn't say there is no limit, because there will also always be a limit, but this will be the next step for sure.
Talk a little about RPA in combination with process mining.
I mean, there is. I mean, if you look at the big providers or vendors like UiPath or Blue Prism or also SAP, they all have their dedicated process mining tools in place, and they're just. I mean, at the end, a process mining tool is using data to track processes, to find good processes for the automation at the end, and this is all based data based at the end. So you can combine them easily, so that they have their own services, and it's a whole platform. It's not just the RPA platform. It's adding OCR to the game. It's adding process mining to the game. It's adding NLU to the game. So you all get this in one platform, and you can connect all these services quite easy together, and so build an end-to-end process.
Isn't process mining also very good at identifying where there should be another process?
Exactly, that's what I mean. You use the process mining, the data coming out of that, to find your potential use cases for automating by using the technology of RPA or by using NLU, whatever you need to automate that process. Because this is at the end all data based. It's yeah.
And this is then where the word with H comes into mind that made me cringe. The
H?
hyper automation.
Hyper. Yeah, exactly.
And hyper personalization, you love very much as well.
Well, I love hyper.
Yeah, scooter. Hyper.
The song which comes to mind right away. Yeah.
Of course he loves hyper. You see how much coffee the man drinks?
Yeah. So, well, no coffee. No coffee. I'm out of coffee.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're doing as soon as we end.
That makes me probably slightly cranky, but
Hyper cranky.
But joke apart. So how far do you think this is away, this combination? Looking a bit into the future.
It's there.
What other technologies do you see merge into that stuff?
At the end, it's there already. So you can use this. The question is just for, like, say, RPA beginners. I would never suggest to use this for your first use case. As I said, we always say low-hanging fruits, and this is really the truth. I mean, you find. So it's not that far away for sure. I mean, if you look for machine learning, or if you look for new technologies, for sure there is still some restrictions, because as Ralf said in the beginning, you need to be sure that the AI service is doing the right decisions at the right time. This is still a risk, but this is evolving over time. The more cases the system is seeing, the better it's getting trained, the better is the result at the end. So this is definitely already there. You can also think about adding a chatbot to the game, or a voice bot to the game. Yeah, if you talk about customer service, if you add a voice bot which is automatically doing a conversation with a customer. And at the end finds out that the process is he's just looking for a document or wants to get some more infos about whatever, you can then at the end use the RPA bot as well to do the workflow work, not which is now done manually. You can use the bot for that. Why not? So there's a lot of things you can have in mind. Huh?
Yeah, that sounds quite fascinating. And I asked myself, being not a typical programmer or even a brilliant mind, I sometimes get my processes together, but how tricky is it to do such a programming for something which is working? We have that another buzzword bingo, low code, no code.
Yeah, finally we are there.
I have no clue, but I program. Yeah. So I just want to get, just before I invent RPA for how to push the red button for some guys which play with nasty toys. How is it done? Is it complicated? And where do you source, for instance, your additional team members if you are doing with 35 as the core, and you have additional freelancers or programmers? Where do they come from? Where do you have them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, first of all, low code, no code, for sure we cannot miss this topic. but as I said in the beginning, I mean, looking on RPA projects, it's not just the technology. I mean, this is really the first thing I want to mention here. It's not just the technology. The technology is important for sure. You need that because otherwise you cannot do the automation process or to automate the process. But you also need a good understanding of use cases. So you need to find the right, especially in the beginning, you need to find the right use cases, which is relevant to you, which has the right amount of cases that you get your return on investment. You need to bring the people which at the end will work with this RPA bot. You need to bring them into the game right from the beginning. So this is really important to have a good success in your project, right? But this is like the if coming back to low code, no code, for sure, all of the vendors are working on their capabilities of implementing low code, no code. So from today's point of view, for you personally, if you want to design your own RPA process, also without having a lot of special knowledge in programming, you will be able to do this for yourself. So this is for sure, you will be able to do this. It's another topic, and then it's getting a bit more complicated if you are doing projects for bigger companies and you want to scale up. Because latest at that time, you need to guarantee that in case the bot is not running, someone needs to be responsible for that. And this is something which is really an important case, first of all. Then for sure, we were talking about the infrastructure we sometimes see in banking systems or in insurance systems. You don't always have the newest of technologies. So we also find some limitations in your low coding, no coding capabilities. So latest at that moment, you need someone who has a not just basic, but a very good understanding about developing and programming a code, because how to access to the database, how to access an application which is maybe an AS400, which is well known in Germany, which is not that easy to handle. At that point, you need someone having a programming background for sure.
Low code, no code only refers to where there is little code being done. The people who actually put that solution together in the first place were doing serious programming.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can build your case based on that. That's for sure possible. But as I said, if you get the call from a sales department having 400 people normally using a bot for their daily working routine, and the bot is not working, and you did this just as a part-time programmer as your hobby, you are in trouble. Believe me.
Oh yeah.
And because they want to see a solution right away, and then you need to be really deep into it. And then, I mean, if you start a program of RPA, I mean, it's not just one or two bots you're thinking, okay, in the beginning, maybe have one or two bots, it's simple, it's an easy landscape. But if as soon as you have 10, 15, 20, you need to think about something more. You were talking about reporting stuff. You are talking about this exception handling topics. You are talking about in case what's happening if there is an additional feature as a request coming from one of the departments. Let's stay with the sales department. There's an additional feature you need to add, or there is some changes in the process, or there is some changes in the software itself. So this is all topics which are coming then. And latest at that point, it's getting bigger and bigger, and you need to think about how to organize yourself. And latest then, you will see some limitations in low code, no code. This is for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's good reasons for using low code as well. This is something I must say as well. But we don't see this for big companies or for scaling projects. This is what's not we wouldn't suggest to do this.
Fair enough.
Smart.
Whom you encourage to do RPA? We have the bad side or we have the good side? And you did not answer if I didn't collect it correctly, where you have your external partners.
This is freelancers. This is freelancers because I mean it depends. It depends to answer this question. Okay, to be honest, if you look on the, I mean, I said we have three different technologies we're working with, like us, like your ProPrism and SAP, and they are based on, for example, Visual Basic or on JavaScript or on C#. So this is well-known programming languages, I would say. At the end, it's not rocket science. So you will find freelancers who are able to program the bots for you. So this is you need to have a good knowledge about the process, but this is what we are doing. And if you need additional resources just to program, it's easy to find on the market freelancers who can do the job for you as well. So this is a big topic. Yeah, that's why maybe I didn't mention it. Yeah. I mean, as I said, it's not the rocket science to do it. It's more or less important to have an understanding about customer needs. This is more or less my role because I'm always in the middle of the development team who's pushing me and the customer side who's pushing me, and I'm the guy in the middle, in the sandwich position, and trying to translate both needs and translate the limitations. But this is also good because I mean, then you know best. It's not about the software itself; it's about the understanding of processes and the possibilities at the end, which makes the job also that interesting because it can change quite fast.
Well, I suppose that's always the case, that it comes down to customer need. And one of the things that RPA allows is employees, line of business workers, to get the difficult work out of the way so they can focus on that need, the stuff that can't be automated. I mean, I know we've been talking about that for the past hour, so maybe it's a little late for me to say that, but at the end of the day, that's what this is about. It's not about replacing anybody. It's about making work better.
Yeah, supporting people. That's what you said. I mean, it's stupid. I mean, if you have a job 8 hours and you just need to copy data from A to B, maybe there's some people who like it. Me personally, I would definitely not like it, and I would be happy if someone can take over this part of my job, that I can focus on staying in the example of customer service, to concentrate and focus on the talk to the customer and trying to convince them to maybe cross-sell or buy something else or to solve the problem, whatever it is. It definitely makes more sense instead of just copying data from A to B to look after certain informations. This is definitely what's happening, and we are not killing jobs. I mean, to be honest, this is not what's going to happen. We are just trying to support people or human workers as much as possible in their daily work.
I mean, there aren't fewer salespeople or marketing people out there, even though we've spent the past 20 years creating sales automation and marketing automation. It's just getting the more tedious parts of the job out of the way so they can focus on other ones, and therefore making them work harder, giving them more stress. And, oh, wait, I'm getting into the parts that we're not supposed to talk about. Sorry.
Hey, I'm the cynicist here.
Right. I forgot. It's just court gestures right down there.
Yeah.
My mistake.
Close to closing, Sebastian, which business function do you see asking most? Where's most need for RPA? So sales, service, marketing, finance, HR, production?
I mean, for sure, I mean, we see a lot of requests coming from IT, because I mean, this is somehow logic, because they maybe have the topic and the issue on their table, having too much open tickets and having not enough people to work on that. But we also
the bot just close them out.
Exactly. But we more and more see also people coming from line of businesses. In some cases, we really start with the line of business, because the line of business does have the problem, right? If the workload is too high and there's not enough resources or human workers which can work on that, they have the issue on their table. And that's why it's really a mixture of seeing people from IT, seeing people from the department itself. HR is coming more into the game because it also helps in onboarding, because if you have a process, or you can support people following certain processes, so onboarding makes it's much more easy by using a bot as well. It's maybe another field, a specific field, I would say, for RPA. So it's a broad approach, I would say. It's not just one line of business, or it's not just one part of a company who's asking. So we see different needs, we see different use cases, and we see different requests coming. So it's not just that one.
Okay. Which makes it a perfect closure. So it's all over the place, whole business.
It's a good message. I mean, it's a good and a bad, and maybe that's why some companies they're struggling to do the first step. I mean, it's like you play Monopoly. You need to go through the starting line. If you don't start, you will never find out. And maybe this makes it a bit complicated, because, as I said, focusing on the right use case is really important, important, especially in the beginning, to get
knowing where to start could be the
knowing where to start. Yeah, exactly. And that's where you maybe need support then as well. And then maybe that's the reason why low code, no code is not the answer. It helps, but it's not the only answer. Yeah.
And talking about robotic process automation, this is the first time we have a church bell in the background. And technology is giving us an opportunity that we have at our closing time, even an acoustic signal, which is talking about through processes automated, that it is a good time to close the talk. Sebastian, I was enjoying it very much. I'm still enjoying it, and I had a lot of fun in learning.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming, and thanks for everybody who was and still is in the audience. So apparently we didn't scare them off. So great job.
This has been a great time.
Okay.
I've learned a lot.
Yeah, very good. See you next week. The audience, probably not you, Sebastian. See you backstage in the
audience, maybe. In the audience.